Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Our guest is another former member of the Red Pill Religion team, Diva Nightrose Goldsmith.
Hello.
Hi there. How are you doing today, my good ma'am?
I am doing all right. I just got done prepping for work. That's all. I was just need to make some extra tea.
Ah, sweet. Funny, I just got done drinking some tea myself.
Nice.
So, so how's everything been going with you lately?
Well, I'm engaged now with and you know how I used to talk frequently about my boyfriend back on the RPR podcast?
Yep.
Well, I'm engaged to him now.
Sweet.
Cool.
Been together for over 8 years now.
Oh, that's
Actually, correction, 9.
ah. Eh, it's nice to do it. It's good to do it that way because you know marriages that like people that wait a while before they get married tend to have longer lasting relationships statistically.
Hmm.
I think I know why that is too. It's that when someone's with someone for that long, they get the sort of they get over the whole like what they call it the butterflies in stomach and like head over heels sort of phase.
I
And
guess in my case, I never really got the whole butterflies and stomach thing. We were friends first, then he asked me to be his girlfriend. I admittedly turned him down the first time because I felt like I wasn't ready for that kind of relationship yet. But then he stuck around for a lot longer, and I realized, maybe being his girlfriend might not be a bad idea. In fact, he'd be my first boyfriend. So I told him I'd be happy to be his girlfriend, but with conditions.
Which
I
works.
wasn't I wasn't in love with him yet, but I was willing to start with a commitment. I was his girlfriend. He was my boyfriend, and if I ended up falling in love with him during the time that I was his committed girlfriend, then yay.
yeah,
And lo and behold, it did.
that's nice. And yeah, like that's actually interesting. Me and Carlos here, we do talk about relationship dynamics, and for me, I've been going over relationship dynamics more on my channel, and that is like it is interesting. It's basically I remember what they call it. They call it the honeymoon phase.
Yep.
Um, yeah, the problem, a reason why I think many marriages don't really last these days is because people they get into the honeymoon phase and they just think, oh, we have to get married right now, and they get married, and then that honeymoon phase fades, and then they're like, wait, what?
Who did I just marry?
Yeah. So that's why I believe when couples wait a while, they sort of they allow themselves to get out of that phase, and they can say, "Oh, all right. Well, this means this isn't just a phase. This is really something,"
Mm-hmm.
and that
That's me.
allows yeah, and that
And
allows them to be more confident with going forward.
mm-hmm. Not to mention, I know some people, when they get into a relationship, they completely lose their head over the individual, completely blind to all their faults and problems as a person, and not even try to work it out beforehand.
Uh, I mean, I would, I would say something, but yeah, that's been me.
My apologies.
Yeah,
It's
it's fine.
I need someone.
It's a learning experience.
Well, I I knew someone in my life who went through similar. What she literally went and she literally got the whole trope heavy bad boy good girl romance and failed to realize that there was consequences involved, and that's why I tend to harp a lot on a lot of young adult fiction that glamorize that.
Yeah.
The
Well,
mindset is that they think they can change the guy from being a bad boy to a nicer guy, but it rarely ever happens.
Yeah. the only times it actually the only time I can actually buy it in fiction if it's competently written and
Yeah.
actually written by somebody who isn't trying to who who isn't actively trying to take money out of young teenage girls' pockets.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing about the whole bad boy thing is like, I think with many women, it's not so much that they like the bad boys, it's that they like they like guys that have high self-esteem and are very confident. And it just so happens that psychopaths tend to be some of the people with the most highest self-esteem and confident about themselves.
Well, the other factor is that the whole I can fix him mindset. The other factor in that is that it's appealing to a girl's nature of nurturement. They feel like I can save him from himself if I just love him enough, and that's the trap the individual I mentioned earlier went through, and it led to a really bad divorce. It led to abuse, and it led to pretty much Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. I think a problem with when it, like, not even just going from the bad boys perspective, but if you go into a relationship basically viewing your partner as like a birdhouse that you have to fix. I mean, that really is like a dehumanization thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just you're sort of
Trust
just
me,
a project to work on.
believe me, her ex had severe post-traumatic stress disorder, severe borderline personality disorder, a narcissism personality disorder, and bipolar. Trust me, he was a walking mess of mental illnesses. And the biggest thing about it, he refused to get help.
Well, borderline personality disorder would be that because in order to get help, you have to admit that there's something wrong with you, and BPD people tend to not want to admit that they have something wrong with them.
Trust me, the unfortunate child in that relationship ended up getting severe ended up getting really bad DID out of it.
Id.
Dissociative identity disorder.
I know did.
My bad.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was thinking, so it's been a long time since we've actually had a chat before. I think it's been years now. We had
Yep.
we had young blood Ray last time on because we wanted to catch up with him as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell the audience a bit about what you've been doing since the red pill religion stuff.
Well, when I joined Red Pill Religion, I was still in college. I was dealing with a lot of extreme groupthink at the time, and I joined RPR because I was fed up with the nonstop groupthink that was pervasive in the liberal college I was attending. Not to mention, I was in an arts department, so I think you can understand why the crazies were predominant there.
Uh,
Trust me, the only reasons I kept my sanity was the fact that at the time I was listening to Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Milo Yiannopoulos, even though I think the man went off the rails, but
You think?
let's just say I had to step away from him because we started having disagreements in terms of, you get what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean,
But
yeah, I
he was
mean,
one of the reason I listened to him was because he was one of the few people that were part of the gay community that called it out. And that's something I really wanted to hear. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, I mean,
Now
think about
we have Dave
uh,
Rubin and what's his name? Douglas Murray.
Yeah.
yeah,
I find myself more liking Dave Rubin the more I listen to him. Does that make sense?
yeah, makes sense. Trying to think of something else. Oh yeah. Hey, on the bright side, Ben Shapiro's like is close to being like on the #1 rapper on the billboards.
He raps slower than he talks.
Yeah,
Although, and Although, admittedly, back like I said, you know how some people when they say they go through college and they have a liberal phase. I went through college and I had a really strong conservative phase.
Ah,
So now you're.
I'm still identifying conservative because I have more conservative opinions on things, but I find myself more leaning right in the middle because the very people that I once admired back then ended up siding with somebody I detest with my physical being.
The Orange Antichrist.
No, I call Andrew Tate this
Oh,
scumbag.
yeah.
As soon
ah,
as they started kowtowing to him, I'm like, are you kidding me? You want someone like that on our side? You should have gate kept him.
yeah.
There's some evidence that he's a trafficker, so.
I looked at the documents they released from Romania. He was indeed trafficking minors and exploiting teenage girls.
Bragged about taking advantage of girls, so.
The
You
man's
want to put that
the
past him?
man the man was self snitching like crazy.
Yeah.
And yet
I mean, yeah.
and yet and yet Candace Owens was giving him a free pass as well as Tucker Carlson. Excuse me? We're supposed
Well,
to be the side that calls that shit out, not giving someone like that a free pass.
Oh, they're grifters.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, I mean, you have to remember some of these people probably went on Epstein's island.
Most likely. But at the same time, I'm not surprised with Candace's actions because she's a former SJW.
I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
why Daily Wire hired her. Like, she seems like she's not very smart. She's says stupid shit all the time.
Well, even Ben Shapiro's showing signs that he's getting pissed at her actions.
Well, yeah, because she's more anti-Israel.
Like I said, former SJW, it's showing badly.
Well, what's funny is about that is like, I don't know what it is about the Jewish people, but they have this uncanny ability to unite people against them. It's like when me and my friend Engine here, we talked to Michael Brown, the scholar, like, and we talked to him about
It's
how
always the Jews.
yeah, basically the far left and the far right hate Jews, and that seems to be the one thing they agree on is that the Jews are evil.
And because anti-Semitism is satanic, it's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
What reason is there for this one group throughout all the centuries and millennia to be despised and made the scapegoat of everything?
yeah. Well, I
So,
mean,
my apologies.
you know,
If I recall correctly, as that one of the big reasons you guys left RPR was because of fallouts with the leader of the group.
Yeah, crazy Dean.
Mad Michigan Max.
Well, I'm not so much mad over the fact that he went crazy because I was going crazy at the time. Trust me, I
No,
was
we all
almost
were.
yeah. But the one thing that made me absolutely say, "That's it, I'm done, I'm leaving the group," was a bunch of MRA assholes. And yes, I am calling them assholes. My filter is currently off. That pretty much went after me and Ray, young blood Ray.
Yeah.
And it's because of them that we had to start setting up new server rules that we didn't originally have to put in place because everybody was a decent person. But these MRA idiots were pretty much one guy even sexually harassed me. Another guy called Chelsea, Youngblood Ray's girlfriend, a false rape accusation in the making and that he should just break up with her. And
Damn.
Max didn't do anything about it. He said, sorry, my hands are tied. We just need to show them a good example. The good example is to show them the door.
Yeah. I mean,
Are you the MRA?
The MRAs, yes.
Oh, what's that stand for?
men's rights.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They
Yeah.
were the basically this. Like I said, I don't want to name names because because I don't want them coming after me again. Does that make sense?
Just lay out initials.
Yeah, but
Okay. Well, this one guy, N, he came in pretty much saying how if I was a real supporter of Vic Mignogna, and Vic's a personal father figure to me, if I really wanted to help him, I'd be advocating for the removal of women's rights and the right to vote. I'm like, gaslighting me. That's really going to try to win me over now, isn't it?
And that's what we discussed with Ray. These reactionary right wingers, like they just want to regress. Like you're proving the liberals right on that front.
well, Vic Morana, he's the guy that voices Goku, right?
No, he's the guy that voices Broly.
I knew he was a Dragon Ball Z guy.
The guy who voiced Goku made it very clear he hated Vic. He outright told him to his face because he was a Christian. That's why he hated him.
Oh, that's lovely.
At least he was upfront and honest about how much he hated him compared to the Vipers that were in the company.
Yeah. Yeah, that is saying something. I don't really get. I think Toriyama, the writer for Dragon Ball Z, is a Christian, although I'm not sure.
I know that there's one YouTuber that I really like who is a Christian apologist named Tecton TV. I frequent his videos a lot. He actually covered how Japanese anime do a better job of covering the reality of the Jewish war, of the Israeli history than modern day takes on the matter.
Yeah, but Dragon Ball was originally conceived to be like a Journey to the West.
Yep, starring Sun Wukong.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Max was giving his ear to pretty much kept recommending this one group called Little Light Studios, which called Dragon Ball and every other anime that I like satanic.
Oh, that's total bullshit.
Oh, trust me. My friend, Servant of God 777, he saw their videos and he went full ballistic. He's both a Christian who studied this for years, and the fact that he's also a big anime fan.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sort of see some works of anime that's, anti God or stuff like that, but it's mostly based on this postmodern view of religion, and it's just
well, to be fair, though, the last time that Christians were involved in Japan, they were actually siding with the warlord that was pretty much worse than the warlord's past. Nobunaga only brought in Christian missionaries to wrest power from the corrupt Buddhist monks at the time. He didn't even worship the God of the Christians. All he cared about was splitting apart the power of the Buddhists.
Yeah.
That's
And also because the South Korea embraced Christianity during World War II despite the divine Japanese emperor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
not to mention is that after Nobunaga's death, Christian missionaries were ordered out, and Hideyoshi, the shogun that followed Nobunaga, attempted to get them removed but failed. But Tokugawa Ieyasu went full scorched earth with them. I believe the movie Silence actually covered.
Yeah, it does.
Actually covered this tidbit in history.
The director of Goodfellas, Casino, and Wolf of Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know at least Japanese anime. I've always liked Dragon Ball Z. That's always been my favorite. I've been trying to get into more shows.
I just recently started looking into Neon Genesis Evangelion, and yes, while
I was just about to bring that up.
While Hideki Anno was using Christianity more as window dressing for the story, they do touch on a lot of the metaphysics involved. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, what is Evangelion without Lilith, without Adam, even though Lilith is more of a Babylonian Jewish concept?
I mean,
yeah, there's also a game something like that, Xenogears. It's basically a Gnostic.
Well, there's another And I do appreciate the fact that the anime Evangelion actually called out a lot of the Karthic Gnostic heresies that prevailed in the early church. They believed that the body was the human body was the source of all evil in the world, and that in order to be free from this evil, you had to practically shed your skin.
And there's women trapped in men's bodies and vice versa, which is what we see today.
Mm-hmm. It's
Also,
just
that does raise a question with me. If a man is trapped in a woman's body or vice versa, isn't that technically a hostage situation?
And it implies the existence of the soul. So
sorry, I couldn't help it. I couldn't help myself.
Oh, that was the point.
basically, the Gnostic idea is that the sure you know about it, that they see the God as the Bible as this evil creator God, and the one true God is out there somewhere, and only Jesus had access to him, but he taught something else.
Yeah, I think that's the Gnostic stuff.
yeah, the games, specifically the game Persona 5 actually had the final boss be Yaldabaoth, this very god that quote unquote created this evil world in the Gnostic's eyes.
That and Final Fantasy X also, and 13 Lightning Returns.
Hmm.
You
Yeah, but
know,
when you do something that like in fiction, when you like quote unquote kill God, like it's not really killing God because you can't kill God logically. You can only kill an imposter.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and whenever I ask for like anime recommendations, people will give me a recommendation, and generally speaking, it'll be basically anime porn.
I would argue that the best anime that actually portrayed the Christian faith in a flawed yet fair light was, in fact, Trinity Blood. That anime kept me going when I was in high school.
I like
Well,
Saint Young's Men.
well, the show that I'm thinking about is like that I was recommended a lot was High School DxD.
Good grief.
Yeah,
Fan
uh,
service parade.
yeah, that's basically all the stuff I would get recommended is shows like that, and I'm like, I mean, sometimes I couldn't even tell what the plot was supposed to be.
Oh, which reminds me, as I mentioned, Tecton TV, he said that he loves anime because they actually touch on actual Jewish culture from the Israeli times. I mean, the during the biblical times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, he actually covered how the Japanese during the Sengoku era actually resembled the Jews during the biblical era. They had an honor shame society. Their law codes were equally didactic. So many different aspects of that where we find similarities between the two, even though these are countries and miles apart.
and there's the chivalry and the code of Bushido in
Mm-hmm.
medieval time.
Yep.
Bushido is sort of like chivalry, but a Japanese version of chivalry. Although, what's funny is that people don't actually tell people like the history behind chivalry. Initially, chivalry was instituted because um, knights were being assholes and were just killing and pillaging villages like crazy, and so they came up with a chivalric code in order to try to tame the knights and get them to stop acting so rough. And it didn't really work. They still kept doing it, but it got tied in sort of later on down the line to romantic love and stuff like that.
Not to mention, a lot of our etiquette actually still stems from the medieval era, specifically during the Renaissance era.
Yeah. And it's funny is like there's a lot of like I think a funny thing that I've noticed about people these days is that they tend to define gender relationships entirely by a brief span of time during like the golden age from the Industrial Revolution to like the 1960s. Because like it was like a golden era where basically people were making enough money where you could afford to have just one person's income taking care of an entire household. And what's funny is like people seem to think that that was the norm throughout all of human history when it wasn't.
There was class divisions even back in the medieval era. There were class divisions even back during the quote unquote Enlightenment
Which is
era.
amazing.
Yeah, like I said, I put air quotes around Enlightenment. Not to mention when the French Revolution happened, it proved that all their values that they kept proposing that man is an inherently good being were proven for naught.
Yeah.
Especially, but I think the biggest difference between the American Revolution and the French Revolution, one, the placement of the monarch. The monarch was on the other side of the coast. The other, one had a religious revival, the other had a secular humanist revival.
That started the anti-religious bullshit that's been going on ever since.
I personally pinned this all on that parasite Robespierre. In fact, do you want to know how the revolution ended? Him died by the very blade that he had used to condemn the lives of so many innocents in France, that in his attempt to try to become a quote unquote god, only for his revolutionary republic to be replaced by an emperor.
That was the first example of the left eating their own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was that Age of Reason cult that also came about during that time. Along with the cult of the Supreme Being. I think that's what the Robespierre was the leader of.
He was. It was no question. He was pretty much trying to make himself a god.
I mean, it was like a deistic cult. And
that's what happens when you try to get rid of religion. You just ends up being replaced by something else.
Yeah. And what's funny about that is like Thomas Paine was a deist as well, and he criticized that all that was happening then because he was anti the death penalty, and so he was constantly going against all the beheadings that were happening because he kept getting the guillotine, and he actually got arrested because of that and had his voice censored. And people sort of wonder, like, oh, what could have possibly made Thomas Paine bitter about because I'm bitter about religion and atheism. I'm like, well, he had both sides going after him his entire life, trying to have him arrested, and sometimes successfully doing so. Like, he had, on one hand, he had Christians like at the church going after him because they wanted like basically to censor all of his works because they were too edgy for them. And on the other hand, the more secular other deists, they wanted to also go after him because he was going after them politically on like I said before, like the death penalty. So he managed to be like going against everybody because he was more of a man of principle than he was a man of just party alliances.
Remind me of the creators of South Park.
Yeah. Oh, I love South Park for that because they're more principled.
But the creator of Family Guy doesn't have any principles. He's just gone off the deep end.
Give the creators of South Park credit. They outright said, we don't pick sides. We laugh at both of them.
I know. I love that.
Plus,
yeah.
They mock everybody. If you are doing something worthy of mockery, they will go They will go after you with no holds barred.
Yeah. I remember how funny it was is that they did the whole trans women in sports thing, and they had like a, a they had basically Randy Savage playing as it was a trans woman.
Let's not also forget him calling out the royal grifters Harry and Meghan.
Oh yeah.
And the Pandaverse.
Oh, that I am still laughing my butt off to this day. Put a chick in it, make her lame, and make her.
Kathleen Kennedy, that was so funny. Like, and Disney got pissed off at that.
They even tried to sue if my sources can be confirmed correctly.
That's just gonna make them go after them harder.
Like, don't they know that by now? It's like, I mean, they've gone after pretty much everybody.
Like I said, if you're worthy of mockery, they will mock you.
I mean, well, they did go after Islam one time with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and they almost got bombed for that.
Yeah, but
I still
that-
admittedly laugh over the one time the boys were learning about Catholicism and the nuns going, "This is the body of Christ." So Jesus was made of crackers? So we don't enter into hell if we eat crackers.
Man, I've
That actually sounds like what a inquisitive kid would say.
yeah, it really does. Yeah. Well, I mean, I always do wonder if Jesus's body is the bread and his blood is the flesh, then what is the mayonnaise? Don't think too hard about that.
No. You can guess what the mustard is.
Also, I watched a YouTuber by the name of Pilgrim's Pass. He does a really good job covering a lot of religious topics in his videos, and I also love his video covering how Princess Mononoke is the right way to have a message, and the Avatar movies by James Cameron is how not to have a message in your film.
Yeah.
He also did one covering Attack on Titan and how Attack on Titan actually covers a cycle of violence.
I love it.
And we're all practically Titans.
Yeah, I love that show because, I mean, funny enough, I'm half German and they more nailed down the German aesthetic than I've seen many other shows do.
Full Metal Alchemist does.
Prosit!
It's like that takes place in the early 20th century.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely know that my German half was really happy about that.
Yeah. I mean,
not German, Italian. That's why I was talking Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
There's a sort of Victorian flavor to it.
Yeah.
Well, consider that Full Metal Alchemist actually took place in their world's equivalent of the 1940s.
1920s, I think.
Actually, it was in the 40s.
Oh, yeah. But actually, the 20s was the movie.
20s was the movie. The 40s was Brotherhood.
Right.
Because it covered more of the original manga, because when the first anime was released at the time, the manga was still in production. Brotherhood came as a response to people wanting to see the actual ending and the actual story, so they made Brotherhood as a response to the fact that the manga was finally complete. And while I have nothing against the original anime, it put Full Metal Alchemist on the map. The ending, oh my god. Seriously, we're going to finish this off not with a battle between an embittered alchemist who's trying to groom Edward to be her replacement for her ex. No, we get a philosophy fight.
And there's this like the live action was it was shot in Italy, but it had all Japanese casts. I was like, this is eerie.
Well, not to mention, Manga Kamen actually did a good job covering how that live action version was an atrocity. And then, of course, finally whereas in Brotherhood, the big bad is literally on the cusp of winning, and it takes everybody in a mistress taking him down. What sounds more like a compelling fight?
Yeah.
But a rather good series is Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, I got done watching that series. It is a gem.
Take place in the future. We're supposed to be colonizing space.
Mm-hmm.
Too early.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
it's similar to Police Knots.
well, not to mention is that the Columbia space shuttle still exists in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now if they named it Atlantis, then maybe I could say that it wasn't a product of its time. But Columbia, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I actually did get to see the space shuttle myself because it just feels a shame to see something that grandiose just stuck in a tiny building. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
Sort of.
definitely.
Yeah, but stuff like that and Police Knots had us colonizing space way too early. Like in building a space station like in 2010 and build a whole sort of artificial atmosphere in space. Like it's not a planet, but it's not a ship either. It's sort of built-in environment. Have that sort of thing by 2030. Like we could
Yeah.
build that, but not anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too. We don't have that. We're not quite there yet.
We're already
We, sh-
having to
we
contend with
should
the
be.
fact that morons in labs who think they know better actually making artificial intelligence that could potentially turn on the creator, even though we warned them so many times not to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
2001: A Space Odyssey, Colossus, the Foreman Project.
The
Terminator.
Terminator, before it went to crap.
Yeah. And I mean, it's all goes to show just how AI can actually just screw things up, and many actors are starting to worry about it because they're worried about being replaced um by AI.
Although I will say that localizers had brought this on themselves. I already have a personal bias against them. I'm not pro AI. I'm just anti modern
Act-
day localizer. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I personally have nothing really like. It's hard for me to have a lot of sympathy for these actors and these companies when they've done nothing but express hatred for me and everything I stand
Mm-hmm.
for like the past decade.
I actually knew somebody that actually doesn't like liberals or conservatives, but he won't hesitate to call either out if they're being stupid. And his biggest complaint for liberals is, for people that claim to be anti-capitalist, you, you sure tend to kiss the feet of
Yeah,
corporations.
yeah. I mean, basically, you have one entire month out of the year where basically every company has rainbow flags.
I know somebody who is bisexual who is actually sick of the pandering.
Uh,
And
Yeah,
the
but
thing is,
that's what this whole woke experiment is. It's capitalism.
I mean, I'm bisexual myself, meaning I buy sex from hookers.
Well, what were you saying about your friend?
well, she's bisexual and she does not like this pandering BS at all. Because the reason why, basically, she said, I never left the gay community left me.
Yeah, I'm like, if I were gay or a tranny, I'd be offended at what they're doing.
Oh,
Yeah,
one of the
Pandering.
things that off the movement is how they keep claiming how, oh, we have to teach kids. Oh, we have to teach kids. I'm like, you're advocating this for second graders, first graders, kindergartners. That's way too fucking young. As you can tell, I had to censor her line.
Yeah.
You mean just tell kids that they exist, but don't say anything more than that.
Exactly. Not to mention, that was one of the biggest things that she couldn't stand about the fact that they were letting in groomers, and yet they weren't even doing any gatekeeping to get them out.
That stuff in the gay community has been going on forever.
And the other thing that delusioned her as well, when she came clean that she was bisexual, everyone welcomed her with open arms. But as soon as she fell in love with the hated straight white male, they pretty much treated her like garbage.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of, to be fair, I'm more surprised when I find out that there's, if a woman tells me that they're straight and they're not interested in women, I'm more surprised by that than I am if they tell me that they're lesbian.
Women are more likely to be attracted to each other than men are, even straight women.
Trust me. Basically, her biggest, oh my god, I like both moments was one.
Yeah, there's not. I lost my train of thought. But anyway,
basically the two biggest characters that made her realize she liked both. David Bowie as Jareth the Goblin King from Labyrinth.
yeah.
Realized she liked men. Irma Thurman as Poison Ivy from Batman and Robin made her realize she liked chicks.
Oh, that's something. Well, I mean, they made Poison Ivy, and they made Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. Oh.
Oh, believe me, she's pissed about that. That she honestly felt like she was betrayed when they just claimed that she was a lesbo. She's like, that erases her entire history as a character. She's a femme fatale type.
Yeah. And I mean, Harley Quinn herself, she's defined by being in a relationship with the Joker.
An abusive relationship, yes, but she literally lost her entire sanity because of him.
Yeah. And she was a doctor beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Harley Quinzel. And people have been complaining about the newest Suicide Squad game.
Oh, I actually have a liberal friend. I'm going to name her Miss. She pretty much tore that game to pieces as a classic DC fan and as a liberal.
Yeah, especially how they did Kevin Conroy in his last.
They did him dirty.
Yeah, in his last ever game, his last ever speaking role.
Like I said, I can ever forgive Rocksteady for the amount of disrespect they gave Kevin Conroy.
Yeah. Do you heard of that game, Engine?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I heard there's a movie, but now there's a show, but now there is this. I don't know what they call it.
It's this video game. It's called.
No, I know, but I don't know what to make of it. It's just so stupid, retarded.
Yeah. Well, basically, they
basically have these little rinky-dink humans who have no superpowers except for their skills, killing off the Justice League in horrific, disrespectful ways.
Yeah, and they literally this is not me being metaphorical. They literally piss on the Flash after he dies. I'm not saying that metaphorically.
Yeah,
quite literally, they literally did a pit after he was dead, like one of the characters pissed on his dead body.
Like teabagging wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, it was really disrespectful, and especially how they did Kevin Conroy, as they basically just had Harley Quinn just shoot him in the head after he was tied up.
Well, even worse, the gun round that she used was from a Glock. It would not make a shell casing sound like it came out of a revolver. They don't even know their guns.
Well, I mean, they're liberal, so of course they wouldn't.
I would know this because I actually picked up a firearm when I was in Texas.
Oh, of course you would.
Yes, I did do the American thing of going to Texas to learn how to shoot a gun at a gun range.
And eat apple pie.
Not the apple pie, but I actually went to Fredericksburg and had some schnitzel.
Yeah, I mean,
the most German town in all of Texas.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just, I just thought it was just really disrespectful. Once I found out, especially that it was Kevin Conroy's last role, and they had to do him like that. And I mean, I don't know how they could possibly think that this is a good idea on just the face of it. Like, you have all these characters that are beloved, and you're just going to have them killed off by these group of anti-heroes to straight villains.
Well, it's not really canon, so.
Well,
Yeah,
it's to the Arkham universe.
Yeah, but it's like the Star Wars sequels. It just doesn't count. It's so far from the original source material. It basically reads like fan fiction, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, it kills off Batman in the Arkham timeline, which that was a big disrespect to the Arkham games, because that's some of the most best games that people talk about, and they just did the entire franchise wrong by how they took Batman out.
At least when there's a comic series by Deadpool where he just kills all the superheroes in the Marvel universe. But at least that was sort of, it knew what it was doing. It was tongue in cheek.
Yeah, and it sort of makes sense that Deadpool would be able to do that because he has powers.
And he's batch crazy enough to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like the Punisher when the Punisher does it as well. I mean, it makes perfect sense when the Punisher does it because that's sort of his gimmick. But that's never something that you see the Suicide Squad ever do. They've never been portrayed on that level where they can take on these the Justice League. And so it was just completely garbage writing all around.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of garbage writing, word on the street is that the Star Wars sequels, that the reason why they decided to give all the focus to Marae Sue, she's actually Kathleen Kennedy's self-insert. Now, that's just a rumor. Do not take what I'm saying as face value.
And a diversity hire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, they wanted to have Lizzo play the role of Jabba the Hutt, but she was too big for the role.
Sorry.
She was too big. She was too fat to portray Jabba the Hutt.
It'd be like Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs.
Yeah, I love that movie.
I am your father's brother's, insert long list here, roommate. What does that make you? Absolutely nothing, which is what you will be now.
Actually, the sequels of Star Wars, they're just so bad that they make the prequels look like masterclass in comparison.
Agreed. In fact, I was in the camp that actually liked the prequels because you already know I don't have the greatest relationship with my father, right?
Yeah.
Well, Anakin was practically my dad. So
I assume you mean the Anakin in 2 and 3.
Yes. Specifically number 3. Specifically movie 3. Even had his hair cut back when he was younger.
I actually like 3, but the only thing I liked about 1 was Darth Maul. Like he just died way too early, and we don't even see him that much.
I know. Here's a funny little anecdote. So my mom and I were cleaning out the garage, and we were trying to move some boxes around, and one box happened to be opened, and it was a photo album. And one of the photos was her and my dad when they were still dating at medieval times. And I'm like, Mom, why is Hayden Christensen with you in this photo?
Ha.
And like, no, that's your dad. And yes, that isn't Hayden, that's your dad. I'm like, the fag?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good-looking guy. To see, it's amazing to see his transformation from that to the inhuman cyborg genocidal warlord that we see in the original Star Wars.
Yep.
And
it was actually a believable fall from grace.
And it's messed up, like what happened behind the scenes to the young kid that played, like the young Anakin.
Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, he got like massively bullied for that.
Yeah, because he couldn't act.
Well, he was a kid,
Yeah,
and
I know.
And he got massively bullied in it, and he
that was the reason why.
And he dropped out of acting altogether because of that. And like they've been saying that all the torment that he got from the series and stuff is like the trauma that he's getting in his life now, where he's just addicted to drugs and all and doing crimes.
Man, that sucks.
I am so glad Jack Gleason did not suffer that fate. He's the kid that played Joffrey Baratheon in Game of Thrones. And
Yeah.
Actually, people liked him because he's just so evil. He's basically like the medieval Caligula.
Yep. And it's no hidden secret that George R.R. Martin basically it's no secret that George R.R. Martin has a despisal of monarchy-based systems.
Yeah.
It pretty much shows in his work.
That, and he pretty much doesn't like religion, because like a lot of his focal points is where he inserts atheism into the show. Like for example, when someone dies, they'll come back and they'll say, well, what did you see? And they'll say, just darkness, nothing.
There's a lot of bullshit in there, but anyway, there's that one episode like right before the Walk of Shame episode. It was when they were sacrificing this girl, and it's in the name of this god of light, even though that's more in line with what the Canaanites were doing.
Yes. In fact, that a lot of what the Lord of Light's cult does is more in line with the Zoroastrians.
Yeah, and their Canaanite practices, so it's sort of mix and mash.
Mm-hmm.
But at least with the Elder Scrolls, at least it's more dignified, and the gods actually do exist.
Not to mention, in the most recent game that I've been playing, Baldur's Gate 3, there are some gods who are assholes, but there are some gods that actually do try.
What's a pagan's favorite sport? football. I just remembered that pun and I had to do it. Yeah, and I remember what got me personally out of the red pill religion group was basically Dean started really getting into conspiracy theories, and
Like there's a lot of evidence that the moon landing was faked. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You're making us look like a bunch of loons.
well, I mean, it wasn't even just that. It's like he would also take seriously any conspiracy that anyone suggested. It's
Even
not
had
like,
a even had a flat invited a flat earther to the group.
Well, the
yeah,
other that really set me off was that he gave a platform to Rachel Stevens, who is a viper, and I call her the fundamentalist equivalent of Anita Sarkeesian. It took me revealing that she followed the heresies of Chuck Missler for him to be like, okay, bridge burnt. Especially when she went after him, especially when she went after all Catholics, claiming that they were just pagans in disguise.
Oh yeah, she's one of those Christmas
That
is a pagan holiday, Halloween's a pagan holiday, Easter is a pagan holiday.
I claim Thanksgiving's a pagan holiday. I'm not kidding.
Even though it was established by Lincoln.
She still claims it's all pagan.
what's her name again? Rachel Stevens?
Yes. In fact, if you even bring up gentle arguments saying how maybe you should tone down, maybe you might be wrong, she keeps insisting, no, I'm right, you're wrong, you're blind, I'm not.
And
I actually had a Calvinist blow a head gasket at her and blow a head gasket when I showed him half the crap that she was spewing.
I'm assuming it's Reformed Christian apologist.
Huh?
I assume it's RCA, Reformed Christian apologist. He's the Calvinist.
No, he's someone else that I follow.
Tyler Bella.
His name's Holy Ninjato. He's a member of my server.
Well, I mean, I know this. Well, I mean, God preordained him to get pissed off at Rachel Stevens.
Well,
so
anyway, actually, correction, he's a Puritan, not a Calvinist. My bad.
That's even worse. No kidding.
They're still around.
Well, anyway, so the other thing about her is that she made a video claiming that Hollywood was quote unquote normalizing the Nephilim, and she was using Shape of Water to shape her argument, claiming that as soon as the woman slept with the fish man,
that was basically a fan fiction of the creature from the Black Lagoon.
I know it's a fan fiction of that.
Oh, and that's a fun fact about that is that for the whole Christian attachment to the fundamentalist attachment to younger creationism, basically evolution is the context of the story, but at the beginning it acknowledges that God created the heavens and the earth.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so in her video, she was claiming how the fish man was a demon, and how it gave back the woman's voice after she slept with it. But I'm like, one, she forced herself on him. Two, she didn't. That was a dream sequence in which she was wondering what would happen if she had a voice.
That sounds like a Little Mermaid.
And here's the thing, I don't like that movie. I don't like it. And yet she's making me defend it.
It sounds like
you've done screwed up when you do that. And she was claiming that Wonder Woman normalizes the Nephilim. And I'm talking I'm not talking Wonder Woman 1984. I'm talking the original Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, actually, it portrays her as a Christ figure and portrays Ares as the Luciferian figure.
Yes, and she was going on claiming how because she was a demigod, that meant that she was actually Nephilim. And I'm like, lady, did you and I watch the same freaking movie?
Well, no, Nephilim are disembodied spirits of dead. The demons are disembodied spirits of dead Nephilim, and Nephilim were basically the offspring of gods and humans.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonder Woman 1984 was so garbage, and it it just completely ruined Wonder Woman for me.
I can't blame
It
you
just,
because,
I mean, it looked nice, but it just flied off the rails.
well, may I
Well,
just mention that according to the in-game and to the in-movie explanation for how she was able to get her man back is that his soul was inhabiting the body of someone who didn't even know he was housing him. So
yeah,
technically, the fact that she slept with him, doesn't that mean she forced herself on him?
yeah, I know
Well,
that's what I was going to say. She raped a man.
well, it's not rape if he likes it.
Well, he didn't know.
Well, if he did, he
Basically,
would like. If he did, he would like it anyway.
I'm just saying, like, she basically just, basically he was her, like, a guy was possessed with like the spirit of her lover or whatever, and they had sex with the dude that they possess his body, and I'm like, yeah, that makes Wonder Woman look pretty bad.
But yet there was this one idiot online that went after Gal Gadot for the fact that she was Israeli military, and it pissed off a lot of Arab viewers. I'm like, excuse me, and kept
Oh,
claiming how Wonder Woman 1984 was a moral failure, but kept claiming I'm not trying to moralize. I'm like, your video title says otherwise, idiot.
mm,
Sorry, I
so
just got I've been getting really passionate. My bad.
oh, it's fine. Well, I mean, we've gone past the hour mark.
Well,
Um,
call it here.
yeah, we can.
I
Um,
was about to bring up X-Men Apocalypse, but okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm admittedly starting. Well, I got work in the morning, and I had to be at my job at 7 a.m. So,
yeah. All right. Well, can you tell the audience like what plans you got for later, like any future projects, and yeah, and where they can find you?
well, so far I've just been. I'm Diva. I am a Christian nerd. I like talking about nerdy things. I I run a Discord server called Religious Nerd Squad. If you want to speak with me, talk with me there.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about much religion tonight.
It was mostly about pop culture and religion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, well,
If you want to invite me back on again for a more of a religious talk, then
Sure.
an
oh yeah,
invitation.
yeah. Well, yeah, and that'd be so good to have you back to talk to. Maybe we can get Ray in too. We can all have like one big like reunion sort of thing.
And
I can.
the
I'm down for that.
I forgot his name. The Romanian tiger was that?
Oh, I know him. I just gotta ping him. I'll let him know that. I'll let him know that you guys are interested in hearing him.
All right. Yeah, that'd be perfectly good. All right. Well, yeah, so make sure to check out Diva, and that is all for today. This is Mr. Brass, and that is Engine signing off and saying goodbye and get wise.